It has been an interesting 4 days, 5 days in professional wrestling news. What's up, everybody? I'm Todd. I am the host of Turnbuckle Tuesdays, a once a month podcast about pro wrestling history, modern wrestling events, and random topics that we discuss that take place and deal with specific parts of pro wrestling history. Since episode one, literally the day after, we have seen more releases from Total Nonstop Action, including members of the creative team with Tommy Dreamer, backstage personnel from everybody from a digital producer to somebody who was helping with match setups, who had retired from in-ring activities, Sammy Callahan. The digital producer was Luke Perrin. We've heard rumors that Anthem has a floor selling price. We've heard rumors of toxic debt. We've heard from multiple sources talking about whether or not TKO would be interested in purchasing. And I think though it's all interesting, and the release of, Tessa Blanchard because she wants to continue wrestling at CMLL, or Steve Macklin requesting his release, or Maya Grace requesting her release. I think we're losing the line in all of this. Pro wrestling is continually evolving and changing, and it's doing so at a very, very much quicker rate than it has in the past. Some of that is the effect of social media. Some of that is the effect of fans' general access to the thoughts, the ideas, and the concepts dealing with professional wrestlers, or the quick release of statements from companies, or the fact that everyone and their brother has a podcast or is on a podcast. Everyone's focusing on what's TNA doing right now. How is this impacting Slammiversary? How is this going to impact backstage morale? How is this going to impact in-ring product? How is this going to impact their new deal with AMC TV? How is this going to impact their working relationship with TKO WWE, right? We are seeing more and more influence from the non-wrestling world on professional wrestling. We are seeing more finance-driven companies being involved in the buying of companies. And I think Anthem was not necessarily the very, very start of this, maybe goes back to Panda Energy, but when Anthem got involved buying TNA from Panda after the Dixie Carter era, it's kind of where we're seeing it, because we see something similar with TKO purchasing, as Endeavor purchasing WWE, because they have experience running the UFC. Wrestling companies only do great things when they're ran by wrestlers, family of wrestlers, and people who care about the product. I think that is 100% the truth. I think AEW, with Tony Khan being a wrestling superfan his entire life, and willing to meet with Shane McMahon, and willing to listen to his staff, and willing to listen to his wrestlers, and take under advice from guys like, Dustin Rhodes and everybody else who's a part of that, has improved the product. That product has improved significantly over the course of the last 2 years. TNA was improving over 2 years. Matt Hardy was 100% correct on his podcast when they were talking about that. They have significantly improved since Matt and Jeff Hardy started working back in TNA closely with President Carlos Silva. But as things become more and more corporate, and this is across the board in any industry, they start shifting further and further away from their ideals, and start shifting further and further away from the average consumer of their product, to try to either draw in more consumers or make the accessibility of said product only available to those who can afford it. We see this in countless industries. You see the rolling back of benefits for individuals who are just base tier members, and all of the great things that come out of a company going to the very high tier willing to spend money investors and individuals, right? And I think wrestling can be done the same way. The only difference is it damages the product when wrestling does it. It damages the creative. It damages the overall experience, because wrestling, like stagecraft, like movies, like TV shows, are to be in an experience that is to be watched and felt. And when you start taking the ability to enjoy that away from your lowest level tiered consumers, you start alienating those consumers. And we've seen this time and time again with multiple different companies, which is why multiple companies either shut down or end up in situations where they have to give themselves competition to drive the product back up. I don't know. I'm just rambling, but it's frustrating because the business was hot 18 months ago and I expected it to cool off, but I didn't expect something like this. What do you guys think?